Welcome back to Life at the Manor. Today's episode we're heading under the house into the cellar where a whole lot of wine has been collecting dust. Now I don't know a huge amount about what we've got in there, but today's the day we're going to find out. Now this could be an episode from The Gentleman on Netflix, but I highly doubt I'm going to find hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of wine in there. But I have a feeling we've got some cool stuff in there nevertheless, and these keys are pretty blooming cool. Wow!
Every bottle has a history.
Why hasn't my family been into wine?
I'm not sure. They've never really been interested, although your grandfather was very interested in port.
You've got more space than you have liquor. I don't know what you're having for supper, but this would work with it.
Now that is good for drinking, surely.
Okay.
That looks like apple juice. Welcome to the cellar of Chavenage House, situated under the anteroom. Now, not far away from the ballroom, so you might hear people walking around above. I know nothing about wine, but it's something that I really want to know more about. Now, if you are into your wines or you're a wine enthusiast, then this is the video for you, because hopefully we're going to find out more about the collection we've got here and about some of the really old bottles, some dating back 120 years. But first, why were there cellars in the first place? Why were they situated down below the actual living area of the house? Cellars were put underground to maintain a constant temperature, and the ideal temperature for a cellar needs to be about 10 to 12 degrees. So we're looking perfect here. Now usually there's a blocked up vent up there, and that's to stop sunlight getting in and rising the temperature, which will accelerate the aging of the wine and ruin your perfectly good wine. We've got loads of different bits and bobs, but the one person that knows more about wine than I do is my uncle, who's actually been looking after this for the last 25 years.
Ah, James.
This is Aunt Joanna's husband. James has lived in the wing of the main house at Chavenage for many decades and has been a familiar part of its history.
Oh yeah.
So you good?
I'm very well, thanks.
You have spent most of your time in the cellar.
No, luckily I can't normally get to the cellar, but I have been lucky to be able to store wine there for well over 25 years.
The cellar is closely guarded secret, but even though my family wasn't heavily into wine collecting, I've heard that my grandfather was a big fan of port. Wow, it's so cool, this cellar. It's one of the proper hidden rooms of the house, isn't it?
This is a hidden room, and we've got all sorts of wine down here, some dating back probably 100 years or so. Just so you don't get any ideas on whose is what.
This is mine.
Everything behind you is mine, actually.
Are you sure about this?
Yeah.
All these smart boxes?
In fact, everything in front of you as well. I have been collecting wine for about 30 years. I've been lucky. I've always had an interest in wine. My father had a small cellar and had some lovely bottles, which I remember drinking at Sunday lunch when I was younger. And then I've got friends in the trade. So through them, I've gained a little bit of knowledge, not as much as some. And I've bought a few cases every single year. And so you can build up your own cellar quite quickly, but steadily. And that's two or three cases every year. And what you do, you buy it en primeur. So for instance, this case here, which is absolutely, this is really lovely wine. Branneux de Cru 2000. I would have bought that when it was sold initially just in barrels, so it wasn't even in a bottle. And I would have bought a case of this and a few other cases of other clarets released that year. This is a red Bordeaux, and it would have been, then it's bottled and then released into the market, and you can then leave it in bond, where you don't pay the duty and VAT, or you take it out of bond because you don't want to pay storage fees, and you effectively pay the duty and VAT at that point, and you bring it into your cellar because you're going to drink it. Wine is a thing for all sorts of occasions, and sometimes a special occasion is worth opening a really, really nice bottle. And I've been lucky over the years to select and collect a few lovely bottles.
It turns out that my grandfather also left me a little something.
To James, for celebration of your christening from your grandparents with love, and that is the JMC Wesson. That's from my mother's father, my grandfather, and it's a letter we can see from Berry Brothers and Rudd.
Berry Brothers are one of the top wine merchants in London. They're based in St James's Street.
And it says, "Dear sir, at the request of your grandfather, Mr. Michael Wesson, we are pleased to advise you that arrangements have been made for a case containing 12 bottles of vintage port 1985 Graham's to be delivered to you, the Orchards, Whitchurch, Hampshire," which was my grandfather's house. 1985 is the last declared port vintage, and this particular wine will not, in our opinion, be ready for drinking before the year 2005. If the wine is carefully stored at the even temperature of 55 Fahrenheit, 58 Fahrenheit is best, then we would expect the wine to be at its peak for drinking from the year 2008 and onwards. And we are currently in 2025, which just shows.
It will still be good. This is the potion, or punch, your grandfather liked to call it, for New Year's Eve.
So we have a New Year's tradition that every year all the family get together, as many as family members as we can muscle up, really. And my grandfather does a punch, or my grandfather used to do a punch. And so I can't remember how far down the tradition goes.
Well, since the family first lived here in about 1890.
Yeah. So
they've been so the I call it the dregs, but the leftover punch for each year was then stored in a bottle, and it was in an old gin bottle, which is up here, which I'll grab. Here, that was the original one.
Wow.
And the leftover punch on New Year's Eve would be put into that bottle, and it would start off the following year's punch. So there's a bit of the punch back from 1890.
Well, thank you very much for looking after, and also, I've got to mention, thank you so much for cleaning up the cellar, allowing us to film today, because I know you spent a lot of time.
Well, it does sometimes become a bit of a storage thing.
Yeah, no, thank you. And now I think it's about time that we check in with Jeremy, who's the sommelier and wine merchant, to hear more about some of these really old bottles of wine.
Yeah.
Today we're joined by Jeremy Hill, chairman of Vinotopia. With 40 plus years in the wine trade, including roles at Oddbins and Hedges and Butler, he's the perfect guide to explore our cellar.
Right, let's have a look. So, grabbing one. Okay, 2016 Medoc, 2021 by Chapoutier. 2022, it's a Pinkster.
So when you're looking for wine, if you hold the bottle up to the light and you work out how much oxygen is put in.
Exactly, the level is one of the crucial things. But what's happened is that has given way, the oxygen has got in, the wine has evaporated, leaked out, and what you're left with is something like the village pond.
Yeah.
Don't go near it. But I'm guessing it would be the first half of the last century. So the thick end of 100 years old.
Okay.
But you can see how the level has dropped. And there's really, sadly, I hate to tell you this, James, there's no value in that. Those presumably were the generation before David.
Yeah.
So your great-grandfather.
And he looked like he didn't touch them at all.
Okay, there's a fair amount of variety in here. We've got a few of these, but this is Dow's 63. Quite delicious port. Still drinking now.
Really?
Oh yeah, this would be lovely now.
And how do you know that it's a good age or good vintage?
So port is 20% rough brandy, 80% rough red wine.
Okay.
Mix them together, the magic happens. Put it into a cask for 2 years, and only 2 years, and then you take it out and stick it into a bottle, because it can only breathe through the cork. It can't breathe through the glass of the bottle, okay? So it matures very slowly. But this stuff is really delicious.
And the slower the age, the better.
Yeah, and also as long as it's not really been moved very often, and my guess is these won't have been moved very often. 1999 Branair from Duluth de Cru, quite delicious. Now,
Apparently this is my cousin's one, but
yeah, but he's not here, is he?
Well, that's it.
Yeah, shame. He would have enjoyed it.
he may have. He may have. What kind of, would that be a good vintage?
Yes, 1999 was good. There are actually 4 in succession that were good. 99, 2000 was the classic one, you know, change of the millennium and all the rest of it. 2001 and 2002, they were all really, really good. That's drinking now. It'll probably last another 10 years without any trouble. Or about
Would that
another,
go up in value?
About another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Would it go up in value? Yes, because most of it probably has been drunk by now.
Oh, okay.
So you've got the scarcity value coming in.
How much
So-
would this be?
Couple of hundred.
Yeah. Oh, it's still pretty good.
Yeah, you know, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Tell me what it is, James.
This, I mean, it's obviously a Magnum.
Or bigger. The cork is knackered. That's perished. But it's got no label. It's got no capsule around the cork. But it has been lying flat. So there you go. You could try that. But
That looks like tomato soup.
I'll admit, I'm not really an expert, but Jeremy is, so we've selected a few of the most rustic and interesting looking wines to pop the cork open and try.
Should we open this one first?
I think we should. Let's give it a go.
So what are we opening there?
Well, I mean, the funny thing is we don't really know. I recognise the outline of the label as being bottled by Berry Brothers, who are London-based, probably the oldest wine merchants in England now, about 1670, something like that. And they were bringing in barrels of claret and then bottling it themselves, which doesn't happen now. So this is probably somewhere in the 60s, something like that.
So talk us through how you're actually opening it.
Okay, well, what I'm doing, I'm taking off the seal at the moment, the capsule, and that's got quite a lot of manky stuff on it, but that's fine. So we'll hope that the cork has survived. So we're using a screw pull, which is a very thin threaded corkscrew. So what normally happens if I'm doing this is that the cork then disintegrates and falls down into the bottle. So then you have to sort of flick it out very carefully. But I'm hoping that this will survive.
This is always the exciting bit about wine, isn't it?
No, the exciting bit is when you're drinking it. This is, okay. Now then, I'm hoping that on the side of the cork, they might have branded the vintage.
Oh, that looks like a good cork.
That looks all right, doesn't it? No, they haven't decided to help me by giving me the vintage.
You've just got a
Never
pin.
mind. Let's just see what happens. Okay, but the great thing is the cork is intact.
Yeah.
It hasn't crumbled and it's damp. It hasn't gone dry. If it dries out, you've got a problem.
Okay.
And let's see what we think.
Do you have to let it breathe?
No, absolutely not. Yeah, in a perfect world you would, but in a perfect world equally you would decant it. Now just have a look at the colour of that. There's a lot of red. If it's very old, it goes brown.
Okay.
If it's very, very young, it's purple.
Now, people talk about legs,
Yeah,
and a good amount of legs is technically a good wine. Is that true or false?
generally it's false.
Okay.
There was a time, legs literally just means it's got glycerin, and that stays on the side of the glass.
Right.
And nowadays, it doesn't really make any difference. But
Now we put nose in it.
okay, yeah.
Wow, that smells pretty good.
Now that's a drinkable glass. You're very good health.
Very good health, Jeremy.
I still don't know what we're drinking, but I'm enjoying it anyway.
I'm just going to check you don't die.
That is really good mature claret.
Is it?
Yeah.
And
I'm
how do I
guessing-
do the swirl?
Well, literally just move it round your mouth. I'm not going to stand too close. Okay, and don't do the nose trick. Okay, that's a really bad idea.
What's the nose trick?
When something goes wrong and it comes down your nose. The worst thing is when you do that with Coca-Cola. It's horrible. It isn't as blackcurranty as I'd hoped it might be. That's because it's a bit older. if we drank this 10 years ago, there would have been a much more sort of cassis level in there. But it's got plenty of structure. It hasn't gone tired and spirity. I mean, this is good stuff.
And that's a Bordeaux, so...
Yep.
So
Bordeaux,
it's a claret.
so it is a claret. The definition of claret is red wine from Bordeaux. In the good days, but we've got to go back to the 14th century, when England owned that bit of France. This was very much then an Englishman's wine.
Yeah.
And claret was a bit lighter, and it's called claret.
Claret,
And that's
okay.
where the name claret came from.
Is it just looking at a bottle that's corked? And how do I know what to look for
Okay,
there?
if somebody has produced a bottle, it's because you've chosen it off
Yeah.
a list. And you've chosen it probably because you think that'll be really quite interesting, because it wouldn't be on their list if they weren't proud to serve it. You might go, well, the age of the bottle, that's quite interesting. Yep, so this is 50 years old. We don't know exactly how old this is, and there's no way I can tell you, I'm afraid, from that. But if you're having it poured out at the table, it'll be in a decanter, because it will have been decanted, first of all, to take it off the sediment to let it breathe a bit.
Yeah.
So once you've got the oxygen coming into it, it softens the whole thing, and it just makes it more open, more opulent.
Right.
But
Opulent,
this
lovely word.
doesn't really need it. I mean, I think this is good for drinking now. I mean, I don't know what you're having for supper, but this would work with it.
Let's talk this.
Right. Now then, this monster is
Shall I?
yeah, give it a go.
Can you tell me anything about this? Or just
no,
from looking at it?
the one thing I can tell you, it isn't a claret because it's in the wrong shaped bottle.
Right.
Okay, that is an absolutely standard Bordeaux shape.
Yeah.
So it's got high shoulders and absolutely straight down. That suggests it's either a Rhone or a Burgundy.
Right. Okay.
Now there's no label, there's no seal, the cork has gone in, so we really don't know what it is. So I would suggest tip some out into that. Let's have a look at the colour. Okay.
That looks like apple juice.
Or if it was a horse, I think it needs to go back to the vet. Yeah, yummy. It's a great shame your grandparents didn't drink it a bit earlier, but never mind. Okay, have a sniff, James, and see what you can smell.
Oh, it's like.
Has it gone vinegary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on. We can't waste this bottle,
but-
surely.
Well, it has already been wasted. I mean, I think it's it's seen better days, hasn't it? Let's be honest.
My uncle's been looking after this cellar, and all that wine there is all because
Well,
of.
I think you need to have a word with him.
If we can, just one more. This one.
Okie doke.
No, not that one. Oh, that one.
Right.
Th-
Okay, stick it down on the deck. Let's have a look. Ah, now this has got the semblance of a label.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it is, but it's exciting, this stuff, isn't it?
So here we go. We've got a cork. Look at that.
There we got some of a cork. Right, the cork has broken, and the top half has survived. The bottom half has really rotted completely. Doesn't that look delicious? So there's quite a lot more cork all over the place. So let's just see if there's any clue as to what it is. Oh, what was the level, by the way? Okay, right, the level is there. I don't know if the camera can see that. It's on my finger. So it's lost quite a lot.
So that would be drinkable, surely.
Okay, so the cork has broken and some of it has got stuck. So what we'll do is to cheat and give it a helping hand.
We've got this lovely aroma.
Yes, I'm sorry, I did have a shower earlier. But,
Take a sip.
I would, that was Madeira.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's amazing how you can do that with your nose. Wow, it's strong.
Okay, yeah, slightly strong, but also, do you get something slightly caramelised?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Madeira. Do you know anything at all about Madeira? Why would you?
Well, just about the country.
Okay, well, very small island. It was a watering point where ships would revittle and water, because it had fresh water when they were doing the bit down to the bottom of Africa and up the other side on the India run. Somebody thought it'd be a good idea to plant some grapes there because it's very fertile and all the rest, volcanic island, lots of ash. So they planted grapes, they made wine, the wine was revolting. They put it into barrels, used the barrels as ballast to help going around the Cape.
Really?
And as they went over the equator, the barrels heated up and then cooled down. They went down through the bottom of Africa and then heated up again on the India run. And because of the motion of the ship, the barrels were rocking like that. When the ships got to India, they found that actually the wine was much better. So it had been cooked up and it had been sloshing around. So in Madeira, they still use ovens to heat it up, and these ovens rock to emulate the motion of a ship. Isn't that fun?
Is that how you get the caramel?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's slightly cooked. And again, it's a fortified wine. I mean, you can drink it. It'll be safe. I don't think I will, thank you.
Shall I take a sip?
Take a sip.
Shall I spit it?
Can anybody ring A&E and just see if they're open?
So how old do you reckon this is?
I'm guessing 70, 80, 90 years old.
I mean, it's sweet.
Madeira is one of the things that will last.
It's kind of sweet.
It'll outlast port. It should be. So it's probably a Malmsey.
It's definitely very caramel.
Yeah.
Give that a sip.
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
It's very sweet.
But it will be because they have a lot of natural sugar in there.
It's weird to think that this bottle of wine has been sat here for over 100 years.
Well, it could well be over 100 years old because it won't really have changed very much.
So, Jeremy, can you give us 4 of your top tips of choosing wine, maybe even investing in wine, and how to store wine properly?
Okay. If you were thinking, okay, Granny has just left you £1,000 and you think, yeah, it'd be quite fun to invest that in something in the wine world, the first thing to do is invest in something you like to drink. Okay? If you're doing it purely as an investment, you take all the fun out of it. You might as well buy stocks and shares. If you think, well, I really love good champagne, buy good champagne. If you're then going to say, am I looking for short-term, medium-term, long-term, i.e. stuff for quaffing now, that's fine, but you don't have to spend quite as much. If you're buying bottles like that, because Claret is your hotspot, if you buy it, the great thing to do is to keep it in a cellar like this, which has got a controlled temperature.
Okay.
So you don't have to have all the bells and whistles of, manufactured temperature. This is good because it's cool.
Yep.
Cool. It's down with the kids. And because of that, the temperature doesn't change very much. The worst thing for wine is when it goes up too high and down too low, and it does that constantly, and that kippers wine.
Yeah.
So you're buying the stuff that you like, you're putting it somewhere safe. Absolutely crucial, lie it flat.
Okay.
Now, some of these bottles that we've looked at
Have perished anyway.
have perished anyway. The fact that they are lying down is a good start, but I've been to lots of country houses a bit like this where people have left the bottles standing up because nobody's told them to lie them down.
Yeah.
If they stand up, the corks are no longer in contact with the wine, so the corks get dry. If you've got a dry cork, it shrinks.
Okay.
If it shrinks, the oxygen gets in and your bottle of wine turns to vinegar. And that actually isn't vinegar. That's more impressive than I thought it was. That with an ice and a slice.
I'll drink to that. I'll drink to that.
Wine for investment. Oh boy, it's quite a tricky one, which is why I suggest you buy the stuff that you like to drink. Because then if all else fails and it's not worth the price that you paid for it, or it hasn't gone up much, it doesn't matter, you can still drink it and enjoy it.
Amazing.
And if you've got something that is from a definitive year, So the year of your birth was
92.
shame. No, 92 was fine. Was it a magic year? No, not magic, but that's fine. But it's fun to get things from the year of your birth.
Yeah.
Or, when the children come along, get a few bottles and put them down for the year of their birth. And port in particular will last a long time.
So top tip, buy port. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Jeremy, thank you so much for
My
visiting
friend,
us.
very
here at
good.
Chavenage. It turns out I don't have millions of pounds down here, so I can't put the roof up. But what we do have is a whole load of stories, and I think that's the greatest thing.
Absolutely, and stuff that your grandparents and probably your great-grandparents knew. Isn't that fun?
Yeah. I think that's I mean, I've never seen hundreds of years bottle of wine, and to open one has been an absolute pleasure. Hope
Yeah.
you've enjoyed it. We'll see you in the next video.